Greetings all. Welcome to the One Night Your Podcast. One Night Your Podcast. We are in the building. We have a phenomenal show today. Phenomenal show with a phenomenal guest. Finally got her in the building. Finally, yes. Please share where you're from. If it's a NYCHA development, you can check in from there. You can check in from your borough. You can check in from your city, your state. And if you're out of the states, let us know you are watching us. One Night Your One People, we here. Mic check.
1 2 1 2.
Mika.
1 2 1 2.
Mika.
Yes.
Okay. We sounding good. And we look for feedback from you all. You all please share the show. Our faithful viewership. Let's go.
Here we go.
All right. So once again, welcome to the One Night Your Podcast. We are in the building with a phenomenal guest. Finally got her on the show. We've been waiting a bit and we made it happen. So thank you for coming through. And we're going to jump into our normal, how was our week? And then we're going to shoot right into our guest. Ooh. Whoa.
Let's do it.
Excuse me. So I'll start off, even though that's really not a good way to do it, but I'm going to do it that way anyway, because that's how we normally been doing it, whoever's leading off. So my week was busy and blessed. As y'all know, I'm running for State Committee Woman of the 68th Assembly District. Yep. So I will be on the ballot. So give me something for that.
Yes. Congratulations.
Had some objections filed, but that's just how people do. They want to shake you up a little bit. But evidently, with that said, maybe there was nothing to find to, cancel me down. But I had quite a bit. I won't say the number, but whoever has my petitions in their hands, they know how many signatures I got. I'll leave it at that. Right. I wanted to say there was a merger between the Isaac Center and the Goddard Riverside last year. And there's been some changes in the Isaac Center. And as many know, we do a lot of work in the community with the Isaac Center. They partner with the Homes Isaac Coalition, which I'm a co-founder of. And I sat with Roderick Jones, who is the CEO executive at top level. Okay. I don't know his title offhand. I'm messing it up, but that's okay. But I sat with him on Friday. And it was a really good sit down, a 101, and just to, see what's what, how can we still continue to partner with the NYCHA residents, the Homes Isaac Coalition, because we do separate work from the association. So, okay. And so it was good. It was a good meeting. I want to say congratulations to Kim Tyree. So give her some.
Yeah, I heard she's running.
She's running for vice president. No, she's running for vice president. Okay. And I believe it might be treasurer or something like that. But she's running for two positions. Okay. But congratulations, and I'm going to help her with a campaign flyer and do some work with her. And she did some door knocking with me as well. So congratulations. That's a leap. Some people that's taking that leadership on. Yeah. And she's also a comrade in the struggle. And on yesterday, the Homes Isaac Coalition, we hosted our mobile food pantry with the faith-based organizations that come alongside us. It was very successful, and we also had a dedicated information table. So with that, it was, a lot of things on the table, a lot of information flyers, so people, and it was really received by the community well. So they really liked coming to the table, talking, learning things that are happening, and it was really good. So I'm going to jump to you, Money Mike.
Money Mike, what's going on?
Uh-oh, like I always say.
Smooth.
Oh, I thought I'm about to say somebody ain't gonna say it.
Smooth.
Yeah, my week. Well, I've been here in a while, so my time been about smooth.
Okay.
I had done a few schools, building studios.
Awesome.
Even before I built the production and recording studio on Boys and Girls, now I'm building a podcast.
That's incredible.
Everybody want a podcast.
That's incredible.
And
the thing.
And what else? Also in the Bronx, there's another school called Garrett. It's an elementary school. They want a production studio too, and a podcast. Like we always trying to do. We trying to break the gap between education and entertainment.
That's incredible. Good. That's awesome. Yeah. Good work.
Well, I just want to say, what you're doing, Mike, is incredible. For those who don't know, Mike is from Ravenswood. Started out with this program, didn't know anything about podcast building, none of this stuff. And now, a year or so later, he's actually building studios and schools and all that. So I just want to give a big shout out to that, Mike. As for my week, I'm going to give a big shout out to all the organizers and those who are fighting against Innovation Queens. They tried to have a town hall this week, and I know our boy Donnelly showed up, and a bunch of other organizations. CAB was out there, just a bunch of folks to shut it down. And for those who don't know, it's another real estate deal where they want to build 27 high-rise developments in Astoria, Queens. I looked at some of the rent that they say that they're going to be charging, $2,000 for a one bedroom, up to $4,000 for a two bedroom. So now we don't need this type of nonsense in our community. So for those who shut that down, great. We shut down Amazon before. We shut down Innovation Queens. I know Bishop Taylor was out there telling a bunch of lies and misinformation, and we was able to shut that down. I also see that Eric Adams has put out $171 million for homelessness. Now, I got two friends of mine who went to the meeting with him. I'm waiting to hear the details of what happened at that particular meeting, but I still say, if you're not building real affordable housing related to the Innovation Queens, like real affordable housing, then we're not really addressing the issue. Just having shelters and more shelters, that are not really moving people forward, and having the same broken system. And I want to say that I'm from the homeless system. I'm a product of that myself. And they made $3,000 a month on my family, and offered terrible services. So the homeless system itself, in my opinion, is broken. We need real affordable housing that people can actually live in and sustain themselves and not go through the system of going in the shelter, come out, and so forth, so on. So, Eric, we want to hear the details. I'm waiting to hear what they are. I got some friends who was at that meeting, so they're going to give me a call, and we're going to see if it's legitimate and real.
Okay. Well, now that's great work, great work. We're going to jump into our guest, Miss Tamika Williams-Moore, and she will introduce herself, because I don't like to introduce the guest. No one can introduce you better than you, right? So say hello to the viewership. Tell them about yourself a little bit and what development you are the resident council president of.
Okay, so first I would like to say thank you for having me. I know this has been a long time coming. I'm happy to be here today. Thank you for your viewers for tuning in today. My name is Tamika Williams-Moore, and I am the resident council president of Pomonok Houses here in Queens. I also work with the Federal Monitor's Office. I've also been in construction for a number of years, working on several NYCHA construction projects. So I have various knowledge and experience with the intricacies of NYCHA, being a resident council president, and also working with the Federal Monitor and contractors as well.
How awesome is that? How awesome is that?
Yes. So
I'm going to just jump in with one quick question, because it's something that a lot of people pull their hair out. They jump up and down about. And I heard you on one of the meetings speak about it. So that's why it's not a surprise question. I know you can speak about it. When the gas gets cut off, okay? When the gas gets cut off, we know it takes time to get it put back on. Can you give a little step by step a little bit, the best you can?
Right. So the gas issue is a major concern, right? Because we know the infrastructure of NYCHA hasn't changed since the establishment of NYCHA.
Right.
So when you have a gas leak, or someone keeps their gas on for whatever reason, it's the resident's issue or a NYCHA issue. It's not a CPD or capital project, meaning that a contractor is on site and he has disrupted the gas service in the department, in the development. So it's two streams.
Okay.
But it takes coordination, and so that's one of the major components of not being able to get the gas on immediately. It takes coordination with NYCHA. It takes coordination with the residents. It takes coordination with DOB. You have to have Con Ed out there. So there's a lot of coordination that needs to go into this. No one wants to have their gas off for an extenuating amount of time, especially NYCHA gives residents hot plates. Hot plates are dangerous, okay?
Yeah.
You can be cooking a pot of stew on a hot plate, run past and knock it over. Now you have third-degree burns. Yeah. So the longer that the gas is off, the more susceptible you are to injury. So these are major issues. But what I would advise residents to do is be available. When NYCHA knocks on your door and they need notices saying that they have to get in, they have to change the risers, allow them access into your apartments. Delaying access into your apartments delays restoration of the services. So essentially, you're disrupting your neighbor's services
Facts.
as well. So we all need to work together in order to get, things working the way that they're supposed to, and faster.
Thank you.
Right. So now I got a question. I'm a community organizer, and I know it's often sometimes difficult for organizations like Justice for All to work with resident council presidents. So what is your view on outside organizations working with resident council presidents? And if we were able to do that, can we get more done for our residents, period?
Can we
get more work done for our residents if organizations like Justice for All and resident council presidents work together?
So I think that's exactly what needs to happen. And that's not what's happening.
Right.
Okay.
We have a lot of grassroots organizations in small corners that are working on preservation of NYCHA.
Right.
We have resident associations that are also fighting in their corners in their respective developments for, their
Right.
residents. We need to bring that all together. Right. Unless we bring that all together, it's just, this is what we have right now. Okay. NYCHA is in a critical state. Everyone knows it. I'll just make this disclaimer before I go ahead with this conversation and let you know that I am here representing NYCHA residents. I'm here as a resident council president.
Right.
I am not here representing the federal monitor.
Okay.
Right. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
we gotta
good.
make
You
that
know.
change.
Okay.
Yes, you have to do that. That's right. That's right. So how long have you been a resident council president? I'm not going to ask you, do you like to work, but how long have you been one, and what compelled you to actually run?
So this is a funny story because me growing up, I come from a large family. And my mom has always been the one to do the community service. She's always brought people in and fed people. And we had a house full of people, cousins, aunties, and uncles. We all lived together.
Okay.
And that was our community. And so me going into Pomonok and seeing the need and seeing, the wonderful things that could happen in the development. I volunteered for a number of years. Then I became the vice president for 2 years. Then after that, I ran for president. I've been president for 3 years. I just got reelected,
Great.
and now I'm in my 4th year.
Congratulations.
We are
Yeah, great.
we're doing wonderful things in Pomonok. We understand that there's a major fight. The number one fight right now for NYCHA is RAD conversions,
Okay.
the
Okay.
mod conversions, right? This is a critical state for all residents, whether you work or whether you receive public assistance, whether you're on disability, or whether you're,
Right.
whatever your situation is. But what we tend to focus on in Pomonok is actually building in the community. And so myself as a resident association president and my board, what we're doing right now, we're building over $4 million worth of outdoor spaces.
Okay.
We're now building an adult recreation area. We're building a dedicated barbecue area. And we've also built our first basketball court. So we're very, very excited about those things.
Awesome.
So I would say my advice to other resident association presidents is the fight is going to be a long fight.
Right.
The journey is going to be hard. But continue to work in your communities and listen to the people, the voices of the people, because you have their ear. Okay? Continue to do the work in the communities, and we all together will overcome what's going on currently in NYCHA. I mean, it's very bad with the monitorship. The monitor's working on several key areas through the monitorship. Several departments have been created, like the compliance department and things like that.
Excellent.
They are investigating everything. Everything is being looked at. They're building action plans for NYCHA, restructuring NYCHA. But on my personal opinion, I think that it should have been a receivership and not a monitorship.
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys, everyone has seen the newspaper article that just came out about all of the monitorships across New York City. And in this particular situation with NYCHA, NYCHA needs a receivership. NYCHA does not know how to manage money. They misappropriate money, and they have poor management skills.
Yeah. That would make sense, because for us to be declared a state of emergency by the former Governor Cuomo, was that 2018?
Right.
Am I correct? Was it 2018? And the monitorship was in 2019, right?
Correct.
His installment. So, and I look at the monitorship, I'm excited about it, and I was happy about it. and I know they do the work, and I know they have retired detectives and stuff. And I sat in 250 Broadway at the coalition with Asha, and it was a couple of teams. Yes, the attorneys, and we sat with them, and it was another lady I can't think. We did that, and I think it was like 2018 or something. 2019. We did that sit down. So, but one of the things I wish, and I don't know, and correct me if I'm wrong, when the findings are done, like the reports, does NYCHA, they don't have to adhere to it, or do they have to adhere to it? So to see, that's one of the things, because it reminds me of the CCRB. I sit on Community Board 8, and we're one of the co-chairs of the Social Justice Committee. I helped start that, and we advocated, and we did a letter in a resolution for the CCRB to really have teeth. You know what I'm saying? Because just doing investigations and recommendations, and if the hierarchy doesn't have to adhere to it,
right,
then
has no teeth.
It speaks to what you just said also. Okay.
Right. So the agreement are recommendations.
Yeah.
To that effect. Yeah. And that's why I said it should have been a receivership.
Right. Yeah.
And I think when HUD and SDNY took NYCHA to court, they knew that it should have been a receivership.
Right.
It's almost as if they bamboozled us.
Yeah.
When the monitor first came on, we started seeing people from NYCHA jumping ship. The Deborah Goddard's, the people of Capital Projects, all of these bid steering people and all of this corruption, people started jumping ship, which was great. But more of that needs to happen. And there's a lot of bad people working for NYCHA that need to be weeded out.
Even on a really it's not really a local level, but it is right in your management. So I would say that I would look at that as a local level.
Right.
And the way they speak to the residents is
outrageous.
Systemic. It's hard. I mean, the phone calls. I got a phone call from the assistant manager, and the form. I can't say the form number offhand, but you probably know it when you fill out to use the space.
Okay.
And basically, well, if you read,
right, the way they talk.
I've been doing this form for a few years now. I said, ma'am, I had to go. Like, ma'am, I have academia. That felt insulting. Oh, no. I was just saying it's a paragraph.
Right.
Like, I read it. And I'm still putting things down. She's going to ask me, what courtyard am I talking about? We only have literally one courtyard that sits in the middle of both developments. So what courtyards are you speaking about? Because that's where everybody does something in that courtyard. So now I got to be more specific. But it was just so, and it's crazy what we have to go through. And that we need change in that. How they speak to us, how they deal with the residents. And it's not just me. So many people, I'm not a resident council president, but because I'm a leader in the community, so many people have spoke to me. I've went into people's houses because they asked me to come in. I took pictures of a neighbor's apartment that was like this for 2 years. I didn't know they were suffering. They're seniors. Yeah. They were literally suffering. Remember I spoke about my mom suffering with no heat on the second floor of McKinley houses years ago. But this couple, I make sure they have, and I'm in communication with their daughter, and the husband had me come in, and they're in a big apartment, and the things I seen in there, and the story he told me, I left like, wow.
Heartbreaking.
Wow. So now we're trying to,
I have to.
I'm sorry. Before, I know in the comments they was asking who really monitors the monitor and what is a receivership.
Yeah, that's a good question. Great.
Okay. And then jump in what you was going to say too.
Okay, so SDNY and HUD are monitoring the monitor. Okay, they are the heads. They are the pillars. And then there's the monitor, and then there's NYCHA. So there lies the hierarchy. The second part of that question was
receivership.
The receivership.
What is the difference between a receivership and a monitorship? So a monitor effectively monitors. That's the difference. They monitor.
Right. Look.
It's exactly what the word says. Yep. It monitors. A receivership, though, is different, where they have more responsibility and more power to actually make those recommendations that would come out of our monitorship to make them come to fruition. And so that's the difference. You have more power with the receivership versus with the monitorship. You're with the monitorship, you're making recommendations and you're monitoring the progress and the outcomes of whatever has been recommended.
Right. Okay.
Versus the receivership where you're actually enforcing and making it happen.
And they both have good.
They both have value.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
They
But,
both have value.
yeah, but one is a little.
But one has no teeth. So without any teeth, then
Basically.
really no change is going to happen. It's going to be the same old thing over and over.
Yeah.
So I got a question. Resident, in many cases, a lot of information doesn't seem to get out to NYCHA residents when it relates to like the HUD regulations and all of that. So I guess a lot of folks are saying that resident council presidents may not be getting the word out there, perhaps. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm going to agree with that. Only because I realize when I'm sitting in these meetings that the resident council presidents and their boards don't even know the 964 HUD regulations themselves. So how can you disseminate information that you don't even have it yourself? Right. And so that's the problem. But what I did hear from one of CCOP's members, Lily Lozano, was that through this new CCOP bylaw that they're creating, they are going to require resident councils to go to training.
Okay.
That would be good.
Okay.
That would be good.
Okay.
That would be good.
See, personally, no one required me to go to training.
Right.
You know, you step into this title and this position because you want to do for your community.
Right.
And so you go out there and you seek all the knowledge and information you can so that you can bring it back and do a good job in your community. I understand why it's needed because some people aren't going to go that far to do, they're going to do the bare minimum.
Right.
So, I mean, it's a step in the right direction.
And I believe you did good too because you ran for VP first. So you got on the board. And that's one of the things as well, you know, you got on the board and then you went for president. So you got your feet in there. And I'm not saying that some people shouldn't run for president, but, you know, we have to, depends on what you know and what you want to know. And yeah, but that was good. Yeah.
And I would just say, I know in Queensbridge, there was a lot of controversy over the election. There's been a lot of controversy over the elections, period. Can you speak to some of the corruption that is happening out there in these resident council races?
It's very, very unfortunate. It breaks my heart every time I see us, because it's us.
Right.
We're fighting each other for these positions, and then when we get them, we're not even performing to a standard.
Right.
So that's an issue. There's been resident council elections that have gotten violent, that has made news coverage. Baisley houses, to be specific.
Wow.
There is also another one. I forget the name, but when it comes to that, I mean, what are we really doing? We're defeating the purpose? I mean, it takes all of us together in order to make this happen.
Yeah.
And people also have to realize that you don't have to be the president.
Right.
You don't have to be the president. You can have 10 elected members on your board. Pick a position.
Right.
You can be a first vice. You can be a second vice.
Right.
You can be a third vice. You don't always have to be the president. And what I would like to stress to the resident council presidents is that you need to empower your board. You have to empower your board. Okay? This is not about I. There's no I in team.
Okay.
It takes the
Exactly.
entire board to get
Exactly.
the things done. This is hard work.
Right.
And we don't get paid.
Right.
Okay, so let's just be realistic about this. I can't take all of these phone calls.
Right.
I need my vice president.
Right.
I can't handle the books. I need my treasurer. I can't handle publication and outreach. I need my secretary.
Right.
Right.
More of us need to think like that, and we need to behave in that manner.
So let me ask you this, because the last meeting I was at my resident association meeting, Greg Russ was there. He showed up and he's pushing the blueprint with us. They had a one pager, and some of the residents are not too familiar about the blueprint. You know, they're thinking that, you know, oh, I just want to get my place, you know, fixed up.
Yep.
So I get that, but forget that part. I just wanted to put that out there. He was there. I asked, because they passed the bylaws to the board, and I've been asking for a copy of the bylaws for a while now, since maybe a year and a half ago, and I never got it. And when I asked for it publicly in the meeting, because we're in the community center, they could have gave it to someone to run copies off and gave it to people that wanted it. And I was told, oh, it'll be slipped under I was ignored first, and I was told it'll be slipped under my door in 2 days. I never got it, but I did get it through the email because I was networking with the NYCHA people that was there, because we're going through the elections are coming up too. So, but if a resident asks you for bylaws, aren't we supposed to be able to get a copy of the bylaws?
They are entitled to the bylaws.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, and that was just odd. And like I said, I've been asking for it for a while, for well over a year, maybe 2 years. I think it was before the pandemic. And then I left it alone, but I just wanted to see the bylaws. And being that it was submitted in front of us, and I asked publicly, and I was a little bit ignored. And then it was basically, any residents that want the bylaws, let us know. It'll be slipped under your door.
Wow.
And I never got it, but I do have it in the email, so I got it now.
But see, the bylaws is part of what the situation is with corruption. Right?
Yeah.
So some bylaws have been written that specifically says that you are only allowed to run 2 terms in a specific position. So you have people that know that their elections are coming up and this is their 3rd term and they want to run. So now they want to hold back the bylaws and they want to amend the bylaws at the last minute. You know, there's a lot of corruption to keep these positions, and I don't know. I don't understand it. If you're not going to do the work, please step aside and let someone do the work,
right,
because it's hard work and it takes a lot of dedication.
I was even looking at a point of the association supposed to welcome new tenants. That was part of. I see this might be an old one, but that was there, and I said, wait a minute. I don't see no welcoming committee coming around when we get new neighbors.
So we've had that conversation with NYCHA as well, on many platforms.
Okay.
And what we've been told is that they cannot give the information out for security purposes.
Okay.
Right. So if I was to have your composition of your household, I would have your name, your telephone number, your address. They think that that's a security risk for incoming residents and residents that are currently residing in the development. So
Gotcha.
NYCHA does not provide that information in order to follow that guideline. And that is in the HUD regulations.
Okay. So even though you know there's a new tenant moving in, let's say 10H, know somebody's there. You don't need to know their name, but it's knock, knock. Hi, I'm the association. You can't even do that.
Well, you can do that on your own, but how would you know? If
Right.
you have a 53-acre development, how do you know who's moving in and out?
Gotcha.
You
Right,
don't
right.
know.
Okay.
And so what I'm suggesting is that if NYCHA does not want to give the resident councils the information, give it to the new residents that are coming in. This is a welcoming package from
Right.
the resident associations.
That makes
Please reach
sense.
out to them so that we can then take it and organize some type of welcoming committee, or, you know, where it has more than just that specific resident. It'll have 5 residents or 10 residents in a cycle, in a quarter, you know, bi-yearly, biannually, whatever
Right.
it is, you know.
That makes
but
sense.
it gives us an opportunity to follow the 964 HUD regulations. I mean, I don't know if you were watching when I first got on to the CAC meetings, the community meetings, the Community Advisory Council with the Federal Monitor back in 2019 when Daniel Sherrod was with HUD. He's now with NYCHA. I proposed to him that we should go ahead and think about universal bylaws. The universal bylaws will stop a lot of corruption.
Yeah.
It will start a lot of the fighting at the resident council elections. NYCHA has been creating their own processes for a long time with our elections. They were demanding and enforcing that each resident that was a voting member had to be a member of the resident association. I mean, collecting dues and all.
Right.
It doesn't specify that in the HUD regulation. So they were violating the regulation for a long time. So the people who were actually eligible to vote never got the opportunity to vote.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's why I'm asking for universal bylaws.
See, I'm just gonna put this out here, but and I know there's a lot of people that are qualified, but you should be the NYCHA chair. That's all I'm gonna say.
Thank
you
you.
should be the NYCHA chair.
Yeah,
Give me
yeah,
something
yeah,
for that.
yeah.
No, because when I think I probably seen you at Johnson when the first rollout, because the media was there, Lakeisha and I made the news. So we won New York one and everything. We remember that they had the EMS came and they made us, we were right there to get up and speak, and we had to wait. And I'm like, okay. And then they went back to you all, so they made us wait again. And I was hot when it was time for me to speak. I even came out with a scripture. And so Alika Samuels came up to me afterwards. Like, she literally came up, and it was a few from there that came up afterwards and spoke to me. But that's when I first seen you. And then when we went virtual, the meetings went virtual, I would watch, and I was like, wow. That's when I DM'd her. In 2020, I DM'd you, and that's how we've been connected. And
Well, I got a question now. I've heard there's incidences where there's money that the resident council board has that's not often sometimes being spent. Is that something that's actually happening? Can you speak to that?
Yes. So I'm going to go back to the resident councils because I'm just going to say that from my vantage point, that's not anything that has been hindered by NYCHA.
Okay.
I'm going to say that there's a lot of resident councils that have the funds available, but they're not utilizing them because, like I said, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, and people aren't putting in the work. So you're going to get money to do what?
Right.
What is the money utilized for?
You can do trainings and different things, right?
If the resident council wants to do that.
So they just let it sit?
So they're not, yes, they let it sit. It goes into arrears. And so they have this rollover money year after year after year. It builds up. You can't spend it on capital improvements. So if I weren't having events or trainings or whatever and spending that money and the money's just rolling over, by the end of 5 years, I have, I don't know, $200,000. Let's just say I do a walkthrough through the development and say, oh, guess what? We need 6 doors fixed. Right. Let's get the 6 doors fixed as the resident association because we have the money. Well, guess what? That's a capital improvement, and it's not allowed.
Wow. So can anything be done to change that? Because that seems crazy. Why can't that be changed? What can we do to change that?
Well, I'm not sure that we want to change that.
Yeah, because different funding. Yeah.
I'm not sure that we want to change that because it's the responsibility of NYCHA, right? Our money should be utilized for the growth of the people in our communities. Yeah. That's what our money should be utilized for.
And it's not, some developments are just not doing that.
They're not doing anything.
So basically, just to be clear, and then correct me if I'm wrong, because this is what I'm comprehending. Say, I'm not going to say you, say Resident Council President X gets voted out. That money's there for the new one that comes in.
Yes. But see, also what the problem is that everything is electronic.
Okay, right.
You have a lot of seniors that are on these boards. They are not computer savvy. They don't have the wherewithal to submit the documents that are needed. And NYCHA's constantly changing the processes.
Okay.
1 minute is submit this with this, and then the next minute is submit this with this. There's too many exhibits. There's too many addendums. There's too many attachments. It needs to be streamlined for people who have, disabilities with electronics, equipment, age, dementia, education. There's a lot of factors that go into that. So I think that also contributes to why people don't utilize their money. They don't have the wherewithal to actually, request the money.
Wow.
I got another question for you. So I know a lot of resident council presidents are in these positions for like some decades in some cases. Do you think there should be term limits on resident council presidents?
Definitely.
Wow.
Definitely. They definitely. Listen, I do watch the city council hearings sometimes, and I do see the old resident council presidents come up there, and they're raising hell, and they're going crazy, and they're like, these new presidents have to go, and la 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 la. But guess what? You can't be a resident council for 30 years.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
NYCHA is evolving. The residents are evolving. Okay. Our standard of living has evolved.
Right.
We need fresh blood. We need new blood. We need younger people. We need young men to be active.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
How many young men are on these resident councils? Not many. And that's why we took it upon ourselves to have 2 young men on our board.
Good.
Pomonok.
That's great.
our secretary, who is 30, young man, and we have our sergeant at arms, who is 27.
That's great. That's
Mix
great.
it up. Yeah, mix it up.
great.
And then they learn. Each one teach one. They learn. I have something that says 1998. I'll show this to you later.
What was that?
1998.
I know someone in my development who's been president for like 99, 98 as well.
Well, yeah, I know Miss Kogo out in the story. She finally retired, but she been there for like.
Not my brother.
I know yours been there for a while too. And yeah, well, I'll leave it there. But I know some people shouldn't be able to be in position.
If they're doing the work, you know what I'm saying? They're doing the work, but then also, I would say you don't have to hold that position. You can move down to sergeant at arms or move somewhere else, right or wrong, to keep the wisdom there. Maybe on the board, maybe. I'm just saying, like, you don't have to keep the top position,
Right.
But it's power, I guess. I don't know what it is.
It's definitely power.
Okay.
Someone want to know how the voting processes work.
But what we also have to realize is that our demographic is not seniors. Okay, they are part of the demographic, right? And so you need younger people on the board so that they can reach the younger people.
Right.
You have people who have been presidents for over 30 years.
Yes.
They're in their 70s.
Yeah.
Yes.
You tell me how they relate to the 25-year-old.
Exactly. Right.
How?
Right.
And sometimes the whole board is literally
Yeah.
60 and up.
Yeah.
The whole board.
Yeah.
And I love the seasoned people, and I ain't ashamed of my age. I'm 55. I love everybody, but there is nothing, and there's no man on our board. Not one male. So it's all a female board. And then it's just one black.
Wow.
The rest is caucus.
Okay.
So,
That's troubling.
yeah.
Now, I know elected officials often use the resident council presidents. I know that happens a lot in Queens. They kind of trot them out, to be in support of this or support of that. What are your views on that in terms of resident council presidents being able to be secure in a position and represent their community and maybe not the needs or the wants of these elected officials?
Well, we all know politics is a dirty game.
Right.
Ooh.
So everybody going to use us. The residents have been used and abused for a very, very long time.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's going to be nothing different. So
Sadly.
we have to remember what our objective is, and we have to stay fast to that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
That's what I love about what we do. We keep the viewership a little bit politically inclined, so because it's not a conversation. I remember when I was with Community Voices Heard, and we were organizing, and we had a Healthy Homes campaign, and we was fighting against infill at homes. And my thing was, let's do some voter registration drives. That was like shut down. I was a member leader, but it was literally shut down. Like, why not? Like,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? Because we have to work together in a sense. We have to,
I find that on numerous occasions you have resident council presidents that are complaining about safety and security in the communities.
Okay.
And it is a major issue.
Yes.
It is a major issue.
Yep.
But at the same time, we have to go back to the foundation of the issue. Why are we dealing the way that we're dealing?
Right.
Why are people out selling drugs? Why are they robbing? Why are they doing the things in our communities? Okay. A lot of these people, these are young people who have been arrested, who have felonies, who have strikes against them.
Right.
We need to bring these resources into the community so that they can feel like they can do better in their lives, that they don't have to, or they're challenged in order to get to the next level.
Right.
Because there's not many opportunities for people that are coming back into our communities from prison.
Right, exactly.
We need to address these things.
Yes.
100. Unless we bring them into a climate where they feel like they can achieve something greater, that they can make the same amount of money and they don't feel like they're taking a loss.
Right.
And that's why I always advocate for section 3. Section 3 is a great program. All right. Construction money is lucrative. When Section 3 came to Pomonok, we had a capital project in 2014. We were doing the windows, we were doing the roof work, we were doing the brickwork, we were changing the water tower. The contractor came, they hired me. I got in that office, and my first objective, I wasn't president at this time. I was not president. However, I was vice president. But my goal was to hire as many as I could in Pomonok. And we can go back to the records and see how many people. We can go back to the records and see how many people in Pomonok houses were hired on that contract. I mean, it was a unity and a pride like you've never seen in the community. We all were working. Yeah. Everybody had their boots on. Yeah. And we were saluting each other on the construction site.
That's awesome.
So for our viewership, can you explain what Section 3 is? Some people may not know.
Yeah, so Section 3 is a HUD program, okay? It's a federally recognized program. When NYCHA has these construction contracts that are worth hundreds and thousands of dollars and millions of dollars, they are required to hire NYCHA residents, okay? There are 4 criteria, though, which people are always confused about. The first criteria is that you live in the NYCHA development, that the work is being done. You live in a NYCHA development, in another NYCHA development, or you come from a youth build program, or you are low income, which is simply a self-certification saying that you receive public assistance or you're unemployed at that time. Everyone is entitled to these jobs. We have the problem where the contractor sees this, they know that they have the obligation, it's in their contract, it's on the construction site. We can see how much they allotted from their labor budget to the Section 3 program. However, each time they submit their requisitions, they're always less than the percentage that they're supposed to. That is a 15% requirement.
Wow.
Horrible.
A lot of jobs we're not getting in our community. Yeah. That's horrible. Right. That's millions of dollars we're losing.
You would think that NYCHA would want to encourage Section 3 because it brings the money back into the community, brings it back into the development. They collect rents off of that.
Right.
So what is the reason that NYCHA would not support the hiring of Section 3? What would be the reason that HUD is not requiring NYCHA to fill the HUD requirement?
Right. That's criminal in my mind. In a sense, that's crazy because we're losing out, and our kids need those jobs. And what better for us as a community to work in our own community to better our own community? Why would you not want that?
Yeah.
That's a shame.
On our last CAC meeting, it was the Brooklyn community meeting, and Alika Ampry Samuels, who was the city council member in Brooklyn, who is now HUD regional director, I believe her position is, or administrator. She works for HUD now. What she mentioned was there's $45 million waiting in Congress for NYCHA to apply for safety and security upgrades.
Wow.
Now you talking about
with capital improvements, but they can use it for safety and security because
cameras.
Exactly.
Wow. Will intercoms fall underneath that or no?
Intercoms, doors, cameras.
Wow.
And essentially all NYCHA would have to do is fund their CCTV crew unit so that they have active surveillance of these communities. So you have real time, resolution to, this guy just broke the door. Let's send a unit out there ASAP. He has on XYZ and the third.
Right.
Or this is the same apartment that has the same people constantly breaking the doors.
Right.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's safety for all of us, right?
Right.
We don't want anyone to go to prison. We don't want anyone to be arrested. Right. We don't want anyone evicted, but we all want to live safe and decent.
Right.
That's very important. I want to shout out Derek Waller from ABC because he actually DM'd me some months ago, I believe it was last year, and he came and did a little clip with me about security cams and how they're not in all the developments and how they should be, and the safety issues. So he did a story on that, Channel 7. So yeah,
that's sad to hear. That's incredible. Now let me ask this question. I know on some of the developments there's the issue of homelessness. You guys experiencing homeless folks coming into your development? I know we're dealing with that and some of the other developments in Queens.
So where Pomonok is placed geographically, there aren't any trains next to us.
Okay.
So you would literally have to know about this place in order to get there. Okay. So no, we don't have a lot of transient homeless people in our community. But if you go somewhere like South Jamaica Houses, where it's a major transportation hub, you have a lot of that down there.
Right.
So I really think it depends on where you are geographically.
Okay.
Sound like you made Pomonok nice, though. I ain't been to Pomonok since like 2007. want to go back there.
Well, you know, huh? Okay.
Come check us out.
So
Well,
now,
she's running it. I know she has a hard stop, so you got a few more minutes. It's up to you because I know you got a hard stop.
I can give you. Yeah, we can go.
I got one question. So now I know with the blueprint and RAD, does it take the agreement of the resident council president for the blueprint or RAD to move forward in a development?
Stan, I think we know the question.
Yeah, okay. I want the people. I want the
We all know the answer to that. Whether we sign on or not, we will be rolled over. NYCHA will do what they want to do, but this is the issue.
Right.
Everyone is mad at NYCHA for RAD. RAD is a HUD program.
Right.
It's HUD. So at the end of the day, why aren't we yelling at HUD?
Obama.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Folks don't know Obama created the program.
Under
Sad
his
to say.
administration.
Sad to say, not all things are great, but hey.
So let me ask you this. So, because we in one of our meetings and we were talking about the youth, and then it was always, it's no funding, there's no funding. Have you, or is it a possibility? Because I mentioned that the district attorney has funding as well, that they can do some things, maybe to work with the council, the resident council, to do something for the initiative for the youth, maybe even keep the community center open in the evening. Like one year we had our Isaac Center was open from 4 to 11 p.m. They were playing their video games. They fed the kids dinner. My son, bye, Mom, bye, going down with his system. And they had the place to themselves, and they was enjoying it, and they kept the kids out of trouble. And that was that one summer, and it never happened again. Is there a way that maybe the district attorneys and the boroughs can work with the council to, you know what I mean? Because
yeah, I definitely understand. So I believe District Attorney Katz just gave 27 to 29 million to community centers in our community.
Okay. See?
And so I think that's great. But the problem is that the resident councils were never brought into the fold. Okay. We understand what's needed in the communities. Do the community centers understand that? Some of the community centers are not equipped to do the things that we need in our community.
Okay.
Some community centers have gyms where they have, we in Pomonok we don't have that.
You have a center though?
We have a community center.
Is it privatized?
It's Queens Community House.
House is privatized.
I can't say that the community centers do a great job at servicing the community. Right. That's one of the issues that we have in Pomonok houses, where you have an influx of residents coming from the outer skirts of Flushing, or the deeper skirts of Flushing. So when you go into the community center, you see that we're not represented in that manner. And it breaks our heart. Right. We talk to them constantly about it, but it hasn't changed. We're hoping that it does change in the future, because the money that they get is for Pomonok Houses residents.
Yeah, that's one of the problems. I have a list too. I don't know if it needs to be updated, of all the centers in the city that are privatized, and a lot of people don't even know that some of their community centers have been privatized. They consider the Isaac Center on our side, on the Isaac Housing side, they coined it the senior center. It's not a senior center, but it's coined as that, and they feel that is a senior center. And I tell people, anybody can go in there. There's certain services geared to seniors, but it's a community center. And then the other side on homes, it's more of a youth center, because we've been privatized many years ago. I got to find out the exact year, but it's geared to the youth, but none of our youth is going there. They're coming from, like you said, the outskirts.
Wow.
And there's different different programs that our kids could benefit from. That was part of my conversation the other day. Like, we have to bring after school back. My son went to after school there when he was small.
Right.
And I was able to work. I used to supervise payroll with NYPD. So I was able to stay overtime if I had to, come in late, early, or whatever, and not worry, and there to get my son by 6 o'clock. And I feel any family or every family should have the opportunity, because the after school program has the tutoring and make sure their homework is done. So by the time they get upstairs and home, it's bath, food, or a little free time for themselves, but everything is pretty much done.
Right.
And we've lost the after school program for many years, but you can go 3 or 4 blocks up a hill to the Beacon, but that's we have the center right there.
Right.
So, but yeah, we need to really look into that for our developments and really make sure they're doing what they need to do for the community. At the community it's housed.
Right.
Let me say that.
Yeah, that's
right. Yeah.
Right. That's a shame. That's a shame. That's a shame. It's like that in your development. In Ravenswood, they got a music studio, I think, in there. There's they got boxing
tables. They got
and it's not utilized at all, right? Nobody.
Well, I know once in a while, I know they have dance practice and where they do the workout area at, where they got the punching bags and the bean bags, and they got some weights.
Nice.
They also got a treadmill. But I know they do like dancing lessons there. I know it used to be a guy that was there training people, but I don't know what happened to that, so I don't even want to answer on that. And they got a little studio in there, but to be honest, ever since the pandemic when they shut it down, I think they was redoing it, and I haven't actually been in there since, to be honest, because I wasn't sure if they was open or not, to be honest. And then someone told me it was open, but then I haven't.
They've been open, there's a lot of young people hanging out, just doing nothing. Just sitting in the center, just hanging out, So no.
Oh yeah, because they even had a PlayStation in the TV, and they always had a game. So some young kids is in there going to play the game. Some people in there just to argue.
Underutilized though, underutilized.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this question. We have a few more minutes, and we'll be closing down anyway. So thank you for staying a few more minutes. Years ago, I grew up in McKinley houses, in McKinley's and Forest, or close by. We had a health station, right? A lot of developments had health stations where we got our vaccines. We were inoculated, and that's where our vaccination, that yellow card, blue card, and those were closed down. Do you think if like the developments that still have those buildings that are just closed, if we can work on getting them opened up again in the health station, so the people in the community, at least for their little kids, and can take them there for little things like their vaccines, their little checkups, and stuff like that. How do you feel about that? Did y'all have one over there?
No, we didn't have a health station where I am. It was more located like Jamaica Avenue, or that area. So I think that we have to be very careful about what we ask for.
Okay.
I personally wouldn't want to ask for a health station in Pomonok.
Okay.
Because a health station is not Pomonok's health station, right?
Okay.
It's going to be a health station. It's probably going to be run by New York City, somebody. Therefore, you're going to have people coming from different communities coming into the community using the health station. Okay. I personally think that that's going to drive up the homeless presence in the communities, because they're going to go where the resources are, right? Whether they're in the community for drugs, maybe they're in the community because they used to live there, maybe their family lives there, maybe there's services that are being provided in that community that they can't get elsewhere. Maybe that community is feeding that person. So there's we just have to know the demographic of our community, what the community wants, and so that's one thing that I ensure that we don't do on my board.
Right.
We're never going to enforce our own ideas and our own ideals. Okay. We have workshops a lot in Pomonok because we want to get the voice of the people. We want to know what they want.
Okay.
And through that, that's how we're able to build in the community. I'm always for helping people and doing great things, but I'm not into making people's lives that more unsafe. Our doors are unlocked.
Oh, okay.
The lights are off. The cameras don't work. No one's surveilling.
Right. Okay. Because Queensbridge has the floating hospital, right?
Yeah.
And I believe Astoria houses, they opened. They got some
think they're trying
containers.
to
They
do
got a
something.
medical thing. They got some containers.
Right.
So, but I was really like zeroing in on developments that already had it, and that space is shut down, probably underutilized, or maybe utilized for something now. I don't know. But I remember it was generational for me because I was able to get it done. My sons were able to get it done, there. And the card still, if I look at the cards, mine's or theirs, it still has that address. But they, I guess because of the funding and in the state, they shut these things down. But then they close these doors, and then there's nothing there.
Right, but also where Queensbridge is located, how many hospitals are close within the proximity?
Right. Not many, right?
Right. So where Pomonok is, we have 3 hospitals there.
Right.
We have Queens General, we have
Right.
Wolfmore, and we have Flushing Hospital.
Good hospitals too.
Yeah,
They're
we have
decent.
they're decent. You know, so healthcare resources are within
Right.
arm's reach.
Right.
You know, we have a lot of pharmacies where you can get COVID vaccines and shots and all of that stuff. So you know, we do have the resources there. I wouldn't want them to build anything
Right.
more and say, hey, this is a health station.
Right.
Health station is open to everybody.
Yeah.
That's a problem we're having with the community center now because we feel like you're utilizing the space on our grounds
Yeah.
and you're not catering to us.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
but that's
then-
what happens.
But then they say, but we're Queens Community House and we cater to everyone. So it's a conflict of interest.
That's
It's
right.
a
Absolutely.
conflict.
Yeah, that's crazy.
We got
It's a
people from
conflict.
Crazy.
all boroughs come over to our center.
That's
One
crazy.
lady I seen the other day, she said, "This is my 3rd center. I hop to different centers, and because of the services that are offered."
Because people want to go where they're welcome.
Right.
It's the community center is supposed to be a place of recreation, a place of refuge.
Yeah.
You know, a place of resource.
Yep.
It's not that. You know, people don't feel welcomed in their own communities.
Yeah.
That needs to change.
Yeah, definitely. And it takes leaders like yourself,
Yeah.
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 right? To let people know that the center's here. It's for you. Go in there and get your copies. Go in there and do
Right.
this. Go in there and do this. Go social work. You know, the social workers are there. And I mean, it's just so much food pantries now because of food insecurities, right? So a lot of the centers have stepped up and they do food distribution. That's why we scaled down. We used to do bi-monthly. We scaled down to once a month because people are going to the grab and go and they're getting other deliveries and things done. You know, I believe we pushed the center to do a little more. You know, I could really say that because we were out there doing the work, getting it done. They were doing it too, but we actually were out there as well. I was feeding from my terrace. So I used to get bags from the food pantry, 60 bags from the council member. I worked with council member Ben Kalos, our former council member. They would, New York Common Pantry delivered 60 plus bags because it was a little more than 60 because it was some big families. 60 plus bags to me. And either we had it right outside, but it depended on the weather. If not, board upstairs. I got a walkway terrace. I had the people identified and they came up and they picked up their bags. You know, it's what we have to do as a community. So we assess the needs, right? Like you said, y'all have the hospitals, you don't need it. You know what I'm saying? But when in McKinley's and Forest, the hospitals were closed. You know, the Bronx, things were closing down quick in the Bronx. So, I mean, Lincoln is farther away, Bronx, Lebanon, and you know, so. But it wasn't really that for that. It was just like for the quick little checkup for the kids. So, because if not, we went to the private doctor.
Yep.
So I got one question. You definitely a community leader.
Yes,
Is there any political aspirations in your future? Do you plan to run for office at some point?
Ooh, good one.
Oh, okay. So
Don't have to answer.
You know,
That's
yeah,
all.
yeah.
I did have some political aspirations, but I decided to put that on the back burner.
Okay.
Now,
Because I really want to see this monitorship out. I want to see what happens. We also have to be aware that although the monitorship is only 5 years, it can be extended.
okay.
Okay, and HUD and SDNY can go back to court and say, guess what? It's no longer a monitorship; it's a receivership. So their options are still on the table.
Right.
And I'm here to see it out. It's very important work. I have gone into many NYCHA developments. I'm going to say at this point maybe over 100 NYCHA developments that I've been into so far. And not only have I been in the developments, I've been in resident apartments.
Right.
Sometimes I come out of the apartments and I cry.
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking. Sometimes I'm on meetings with the federal monitor and I have to apologize to them because I break down and I cry.
Wow.
The conditions that some of the residents are living in is the worst that I've ever seen. And these apartments are not on the news.
No.
These are apartments that it looks like it's been abandoned.
Yeah.
Taking us back to what we didn't, how can I say? I want to get this right. So remember there was the tenements. They still exist, but remember the issues with the tenements back in the days. This is what NYCHA has reverted to, literally. Like, just the conditions are deplorable.
They were created to get away from those conditions, and
Well,
now we are in those conditions.
So we're about to wrap up, so let's round table. Any last remarks from you? In closing?
Yes, I just want to say thank you for having me. Thank you for viewers. Thank you for your questions and your comments as well. I want to tell everyone to just stay strong, keep the faith, join your resident councils, volunteer. If you cannot be on the board, do something positive in your community so that we all can see the economic growth and stability of all of us together while we all fight this fight with Greg Russ and HUD and SDNY to improve the conditions in which people are living in currently.
Awesome.
For me, I'm a basketball fan, so I'm in mourning now. Because Brooklyn's about to get swept. Kevin Durant, you got to do a little bit better than that. So I'm gonna go home and watch some basketball and just try and get ready for this upcoming week. I know Dolores Kluber's apartment is supposed to be fixed. We going on maybe 8 weeks now.
Okay.
And this lady has been displaced all the way into Trenton, New Jersey. And our apartment was one of the most. I've been in some apartments and I just couldn't believe what I saw when I went there. It's uninhabitable. Wow. So supposedly on this Wednesday, she's supposed to get the keys, and this is just a long, drawn-out process that people go through. Her son has to graduate from high school. Wow. How can he go to school commuting from Trenton? So these are just some of the things people go do. But we keep this fight. We're going to win this fight. We're going to keep NYCHA public. We don't want no privatization, no RAD, no blueprint, none of that. And we're going to win. So let's everybody stay strong and stay encouraged. We're going to win this fight.
Mike.
Oh. I say all the time, everybody can just subscribe to our YouTube page, One NYCHA TV, ONE, NYCHA TV. You can also hit us up on Facebook, IG, and we here. Or you can even email us, onenYCHATV@gmail.com.
Okay, all right.
Smooth money, Mike. And
yeah, thank you to our guest. You always welcome back.
Thank you.
Reach out and touch us. You can come back on. This was a really comfortable show. We have her other half, her husband, in here. So thank you for showing up. Engage with the viewership. Maybe they might. I always tell elected officials, but tell our guests as well. Some people might have questions. Just go on there and I could give them some answers, because it's always good to know that we have somebody in our viewership and somebody that's
very
part of the One NYCHA that's, like you said, very knowledgeable.
Very knowledgeable.
Tomorrow, the Social Justice Community, Community Board 8, which our co-chair will be having a meeting regarding pay equity with people with disabilities. So it's a very important meeting. If anybody want to, pop into that tomorrow, you can register, and it'll be on YouTube as well and on Community Board 8 Manhattan's page. And I'm still campaigning, so anybody want to help, y'all could DM me. I won't put my donation thing on this page for her, of course, because this is your show, but y'all know who I am, and I put it every now and then on the One NYCHA. But and not even that, just volunteer, and prayers are always welcome, because campaigning is ugly. And I just want to say shout out, I can't say to who, but some people did some canvassing today on behalf of myself and somebody else. So, because they knew what I had to do. And thank you for doing that today, this morning, reaching out. I got like a last minute call. It was like, can we get some lit? I was like, sure. That's
great.
So, One NYCHA, one people. We lifting off.
One NYCHA, one people.
One NYCHA, one people. Thank you. Thank you.